So let's get started on today. So today is a very big day. It is the day you guys submit all of your community challenge posts. So let me, embarrassingly enough, I don't know how to use Reddit still. So there's an error and I'm not sure why this is happening. But I think most of the challenge submissions have not been received. I mean, some of them have been, some of them have not been received. Most have been received. I'm trying to make sure, even if I have double queued, that I'm getting them all. I just reposted it, Ahmed. You're really pushing it, homie. Fuck. It's not loading me. My computer is really weird. I hate my computer. Alright. Please post images because I'm an old lady and I'm just gonna skip this shit if I don't see a big picture. Alright? Alright, so let me just, I have to start the intro again. Alicia. It's funny that Alicia didn't participate and the book stars a character named Alicia. Sometimes the community tags don't work. They're so buggy for me, so I stopped using them. I just manually scroll through everything now. All right. So let's get started on today. Today's a very big day. It's this day that we look at all of the community challenge posts. So on the front page of our Reddit community is the book cover design challenge brief. For some reason it got cut short because of, excuse me, a Reddit bug. I'm not sure why that happened, but it's gone. I will get the original draft back. I'm not sure where I can find it. I think I have somewhere I have a draft of it for those who want to look at all the old community challenges from the past. They're usually posted up here. I've ran out of Dropbox room because each of these has a resource pack, so I couldn't keep adding to these, but they are in the history of the playlists. So we have challenge history, community challenge history playlist on my YouTube channel. You guys can find that playlist on my page if you go to playlists on the tabs of my channel. And you can find the community challenges from the past, from Sword Dancer to all the villain design challenge, creature design, character design, all that stuff. You guys can find them. And if you're curious on how to join the community, just go to istebrak.com and click on the little Reddit icon right here to join. That's where I get all of this stuff to critique. If you're wondering how to get your stuff critiqued, you just go to Reddit and post what you're working on. It might make it into a video. Yes, the new challenge, the October challenge, the Halloween challenge will be posted soon. I have been very busy and I have been really preoccupied with a bunch of health concerns and stuff, and my back is really bad, so I am trying so hard to stay on top of it, but my health has made me pretty much an invalid these days, so I'm trying my best to, you know, be there and get things done. I really hope that I'm doing this for the rest of my life with you guys. I really want to. But I don't know, man. I'm starting to feel the eternal footman, if you know what I mean. He's taking my coat, y'all. I'm joking. So let's move forward away from that macabre. I'm gonna post all of these up. Just load them up. Get them on, load them up. Yeehaw, rawhide. Oh, I'm tired. Okay, so let's look at, so this one is first because there's a viewer who's gonna run out of data unless I look at this one first. I usually don't take requests like that, but on the off chance you are telling the truth, I have to make sure you don't miss yours, but you can always watch the recording. So the story is that there's a girl who wandered into a abandoned library that is overgrown with vegetation and foliage and leaves everywhere. So that's one requirement, is that there were leaves. Another is that there is a snake, and the snake has emerged from a painting into real life. Part of the snake is still in the painting. So some of you guys missed that as well. And it is an old, beaten down kind of library. I wasn't specific on like the architectural era or anything like that. Just something that is old and looks old. That's how we artists talk most of the time. Old has a look to it. So most of these got it right. So we've got some really, really amazing pieces here today. And I'm going to try to critique every single one. I don't know if that's possible. I might split it into this Thursday as well if I run out of time. But let's get going. So the student here has added their own element. So a lantern, which I did not write in the piece, as well as the main article of the story, which is the snake emerging from the painting, is not a part of it. As a painting itself, it looks great, but it's hard to look at some of this stuff because it's hard to, first of all, discern anything outside of the focal point of the glowing bell. I'm not sure why there's a bell, but the snake is very, very hidden, very low contrast, very washed out. And I'm just checking the navigator back and forth just to see what's going on. There are a lot of ways to salvage it. You could bring the snake out into the foreground because part of the snake is in the foreground. All right. So I have this stupid new monitor, and every once in a while something of mine breaks for reasons unknown. So I end up having to get accustomed to a whole new piece of shit, and today it's the monitor. So I think I've selected the snake. I think so, but the snake ends here, and then it does a quick little coil behind her. This is discontinuity. I don't know if this monitor has resulted in better accuracy or worse. Alright, so I would say the biggest problem today is that this foreground is actually, I'm using the wrong, just needs to be a little bit darker for that. And then wherever the light is in front of the snake, we go ahead and keep it light. But I do think that you need to show where the snake at least is blocking the light. So there's a point where the snake breached the light. And we would at least get a part of the snake kind of not hidden under all of that washed out value. And then you can just show how the light has been blocked off. And I'll go in the before and try to locate the rest. I'm gonna fix the continuity here. So I think all in all, you guys have shown that you really know how to finish an illustration. It's a lot harder than it looks because there's a lot of motivation behind completing an entire painting's worth of, elements, and then rendering every one of those elements thoroughly. But you guys did wonderfully. And then the narrative is also the most important part of a painting process, always. So always make sure that you guys are strong with your storytelling and keep narratives as a big part of your drafting process. All right, so that should help us at least discern some of the snake behind her. I think I got the lasso wrong. And then we've got the character in the foreground, which seems more like a sculpture than a person, because you've used the same color over and over and over again, which has made it seem like it's a sculpture because it's made of the same thing over and over and over again. It's made of the same material. Also, this stuff is reading as subsurface scattering, which makes it feel like the character is made of whatever this material is that's see-through. It seems like she's been turned into wax. And again, that's not really what the narrative was. You need to learn to work within a restricted narrative so that you can be hired. And that's the point of all of these challenges, is to give the students of the community who still have not entered the world of commissions an opportunity to work for someone and practice working for someone. The challenges are a wonderful way to practice working on something that you're not painting for yourself. Okay, so I would darken this object a little bit more. The light shouldn't really be able to reach all these things. And then you've got just the outer rim of bounce light. From the nearby. I hate this monitor. Why is it acting like that? Right, so that's the light of the nearby window breaking through. Any value I add, I'm always checking with the navigator to see if it makes sense. And then I usually just blur it. The fact that you had this snake right in front of the window, sharing the light with the window, is just a bad idea. What I recommend is have the snake kind of somewhere like that in the foreground, in front of the light behind it. So there's no need to make the snake breach the light or anything like that. If you had it somewhere in the foreground, a little darker maybe, right behind, I think it would have done a better job of just showing what's happening, and then it would have been dark enough. And then you obviously need to get rid of this bell, unless that's some kind of lantern. You can always just get rid of this whole business right here. Make her just walking around, and that's her sleeve, that's her hand. And then we've got the eyes of the snake, which can be that yellow. And then you could show somewhere here the painting kind of fallen over. And I think that would have done a much better job for you. And now you have some light on the sides, on the top of the snake, for where all this light is coming from. Now you have an opportunity to create a more appealing shape. Okay, so she's already been, that makes a lot of sense. And then you could show how the snake is still emerging from the painting somewhere in the distance. Okay, this is a great angle for the character. This is a wonderful placement for the character. You did well with their gesture, but the material and what you were doing with the rest of the illustration made no sense at all. Also, there's no reason, now that we've gotten rid of the light, to not allow her to be the color of the environment. I'll keep some of her skin tone. And then go from there. What is she wearing? If she's wearing something red, make sure it's a cooler red. You can just keep some of these colors right here. If you want to keep all of that orange, it does look good because it's matching, only because it's matching the title and it's blue versus red. And if you have to apply a light somewhere, it can be something that illuminates the room. But I really didn't understand what was happening before. You see how hidden the snake is? We can barely see it. And if the snake is a pivotal part of the narrative of the front cover of the book, you have to have it. You can't skip it. And you could really just go crazy with the shapes that you're trying with the snake over here. You could go for something, you know, really coiling around her, just like that. Whoops. Really coiling around in all kinds of ways. Coming back around this way. Maybe the snake is kind of looking up, moving upward. I never specified the type of snake. It could have been like a cobra. You guys had so much freedom with the interpretation. You did not have freedom with rewriting it. Okay, you're the artists, you're not the writers. You don't rewrite the story. But you did have a lot of ways to interpret what snake meant, what library meant. And if you guys read the brief, you guys would know how important it is for us to see the vegetation, because it's a really important part of the storytelling. So first, for this snake here, it's really not making a lot of sense. You had a chance to level the snake's head with the ground, which gave you this really cool opportunity to flatten the snake along the ground and continue its extension. So you had that. All right. Before it was like a snub-nosed snake thing imaging. All right, and then you have some light where the snake is emerging. So you have the snake slowly emerging into the light. So I'm going to provide some light here, even atop the snake's head. And then you've got this little spotlight here, which I will continue. Move. So even though you guys have made some mistakes, I really, really congratulate you guys for attending this challenge. These challenges they're not always going to be here. I hope they are, but they're kind of a blessing, because if you think of it in the way I grew up, if you think of it back to where I came from, this was before internet as you know it. I'm not that old, I'm 30, but back when I was 16, we didn't have all of this stuff. We didn't have, I could barely get an answer out of these quote-unquote pros of my time on a stupid little live stream thing. I could barely get a question answered. You guys have so many resources at your disposal, and these challenges are a massive resource because they are introducing you into the world of drafting, of working under art direction, of being able to work with leadership. And anyone who has a hard time working with leadership, that's a big negative in your portfolio. So I'm just cooling down the ground because I want only the things that are in the immediate light to be golden or warmer. So when you guys don't know how to work with leadership, it can come from all kinds of issues with training, issues with ego. It pisses me off when a student has, an ego, because it's not about you, it's not about your ego, it's about the fact that you chose art, and art is one of those things that requires constant critique and constant skill building, and that, if it's attached to your personal, opinion of yourself, isn't going to go anywhere. So it's just amazing that you guys have these opportunities to practice and move away from these bad habits. Staying in your dark little realm, in your little cave of self-taught, it can only take you so far. And I've been there. And though you can call me self-taught, I didn't go to art school. It was the most excruciating self-taught known to man, because it was just really bad. The reason I can teach is because of all the mistakes I made. So I added a spotlight, I blurred it, and I think that's given us a nice little touch. And anything under that spotlight can be golden. And this is one of the few that actually followed the brief. So before I fix that spotlight, I'm just gonna darken that back side, that light in the back. So yeah, back to what I was talking about. It's not easy. I'm darkening the foreground again because I'm gonna start using the dodge tool to bring out this the mechanics of the reflective tiles as well as the reflective skin texture of the snake. But please take advantage of these challenges because they are extremely motivating, extremely life-changing. They give you an idea and a look into your limits and what you can and can't do. What your skill cap actually is. Oh, what a glorious day, the day you meet your skill cap, because you know that you've pushed it just by facing it. I'm using dodge tool and layering them. Just so, layering my brush strokes just so I know. And there's a lot of ways to emulate texture. I really recommend a nice texture brush for scales, but because the light has hit it. And if you guys read my description, if anyone can retrieve that description for me, either Finn or Abu, it's basically, I was describing it as a glass-like sound. The snake moving over the ground was a glass-like sound. So that means that it's a very weird texture for a snake. It's not a fully, no, it's not a biological snake, let's just say. It's more like a mechanical thing. But it does take the shape of a snake. It has scales, it has that, but there's also that iridescence. I'm going to throw a general ambient cast shadow under the snake, moving back slowly. And then I'm also going to take the color of the snake itself and use it on the ground. So let me describe what life was like being an artist back in 2016. I'm not 2016. What am I saying? 2008, 2006. It was hell on earth, all right? There were no resources. The best thing that you could use for inspiration, I'm reflecting the color of the snake on the ground. And I'm looking at the navigator to monitor that. The best thing you could do is find a magazine cutout, you know, that you could use to inspire you, you know, for your next painting. The best inspiration I got, you know, was from a commercial or a show that I was watching. I used to use my camcorder to take pictures of movies because that was like my screenshot. So you guys have no idea how good you got it, and you guys really need to take advantage of that. The silhouette is very weak. I'm not going to talk about the character. I'm mostly here for all of this. You can't have the open gateway of the frame and then the window of the stuff in the back. You really don't need to worry about all that. Just focus on the frame. Forget about the window. Let's look at the before and after. Oh, before I do that, I have to blur the spotlight on the ground. But if you are an artist who suffers from ego, painting illustrations and watching them get dismantled is the best medicine. And if you don't like doing that, you need to work on your ego ASAP, because an ego, the beautiful thing about artists, writers, is that they're good people most of the time, because there's so much about being an artist that has to do with your character as a person. So the more easy it is for you to accept critique, the more, you know, relaxed you are as a human being, the more humble you are. That makes you a better person. The more you work on your art, the more disciplined you are. That makes you a better person. I'm saturating anywhere the light touches. Right? See where I'm going? So being a part of a community, exposing yourself to critique all the time, not being a pain in the ass for those who are trying to help you is the best thing you could do for your personality, for your character development as a human being. So when I say these challenges are really good for you, I'm not just saying, oh, they're good for some practice. No, they are what makes you, what is directly involved. It's like an IV to be a better version of yourself, to be part of these collective challenges, to be part of something that is bigger than you and something that you thought you couldn't do. It's good for motivation, something that you never imagined you would be working on. You know, through your perspective, you guys say, I never imagined I'd be painting something like this. I never imagined I'd be illustrating. I didn't think I could finish a whole illustration. It just took a little challenge to encourage you. So when I say they're good for you, I really, really mean it. So I'm bringing back the book cover title. So we've darkened. We've brought in a spotlight. You can bring multiple if you want to. You can bring in another one over here. That would be really cool. Just a lighter one. So community challenges are different from the rest of the stuff that we do in the community because it is all about like involvement. It's all about this like the meeting point of all the things that you've practiced when it comes to 14-day challenges or form studies. That's where everything comes together. So I'm just bringing in a really, really delicate light. Nothing that challenges or stands in the way of the main spotlight. And I'm deleting it. All right, so before, after, and who knows, you know, how long I'll be doing again. I'm not saying this just to freak you guys out, but I'm tired. I'm tired. All right, I feel like I'm 60. I don't feel like I'm 30. It may be just the times. It may be just this year. A lot of things have taken a hit this year. Moving to a new house and working on it, and coronavirus dismantling our society as we know it. All of that has kind of affected every single community. I'm happy we've mostly been pretty healthy and we're here doing a challenge. That's wonderful, right? That's great that we're all still here doing this. But who knows what the next blow is? Who knows where we're going to be? So I'm just getting rid of the character just so that I can do that. And then in order to show the feeling of the ground being reflective, we're going to actually reflect a beam downward just to show how it is reflective in this area. Just that main beam. Oops. Oh, it actually works. It makes it look a little more reflective. And then just trying to show where that bloom is. And then finally, it's going to be the cast shadow. And it's just a simple cast shadow. Just make sure all your cast shadows are fuzzy. That's the best. Fuzzy cast shadow is a happy cast shadow. Write that back to me. Don't try to get cocky with your dark, sharp cast shadows because that is saying, oh, I'm so sure this cast shadow belongs here. That's you saying that I'm the master of cast shadows. Be a little bit more humble. Keep your cast shadows blurry so that you could represent their actual nature, not trying to use the cast shadow as a prop, which is a pro tool. Using cast shadows to blanket an entire face is a money move. And not all of you are equipped to do that, and that's the solid truth, so be careful with that shit. Just keep things nice and soft. I'm just going to put this on darken. It's just a little cast shadow, just so that we address the cast shadow missing in this area. But keeping it very bright because a cast shadow needs to be bright in order to show that it's falling on an area that is experiencing a lot of bounce light. And this ground is reflective. So yes, it is experiencing a lot of bounce light. Why is my brush not working? I'm just trying to darken this. Okay. Alright, so before, after, to see how the snake was kind of a little bit stubby. After. And I think you did this little magical wispy thing. God knows I don't disregard any magic in a painting, so I'm going to just exaggerate it a little bit for you. It kind of makes it feel like the snake did descend down slowly and rested its head on the surface. which is kind of what I imagine. It's surprising though, not many people painted what I imagined while writing, and I probably should have just done it myself. But yeah. All right, as for the vegetation, so who knows how long this class is going to be, but I'm going to try. Really, the key to vegetation is just making sure you're layering. And then using lasso, I know you have to draw every leaf. How do you get around drawing every leaf? You don't. But you can get around it detailing every leaf. And you can do really, really simple universal shapes here for the plants, and no one would be the wiser. So I'm putting a bunch of black plants in the foreground. And the key to it is there's two ways. You can keep them black, or you can get that dark cool green, make them all that value. Okay, and then what you do is you find where there is light, get dodge tool, and just throw in really, really general subsurface scattering. And the rest of this just gets darkened. And mostly the light that is coming through, catching this, is actually the daylight itself. So if it's in the dark side, you're not going to get any of this, but definitely will if it's closer to the foreground. And you just keep layering and layering and layering. Alright, so I like foreground dark, so I'm going to darken it. And of course, there's the foreground blur that is absolutely necessary, which is why I stayed so messy with, this is exactly the amount you need. I'm joking. Which is why I stayed messy with the lasso, because it doesn't really matter, because it's just going to get blurred. You can blur up to here if you wanted to, like right here, and that's just more of a cinematic blur. And don't be scared of throwing in some vines. I told you guys it was a very overgrown, really, really crazy, almost magical foliage to the Forgotten Library. So, and you can just have them in front of the title. That's really cool. Of course, they need to be blurred as well. Blur, mostly because we just don't want them dragging attention, because they're strings. Anytime you have a string or something like that, you really want to be careful not to let it take over the piece. You can have them actually draping like in these shapes. All right, so before, after, oops. Okay, and I don't want anything interrupting the spotlight, so I'm gonna leave this low and get this lower, just so that it's clustering towards the lower half of the canvas. I think I messed up though. Before, after. Right, we've talked about what silhouettes do. I can't go into what spotlights do. I can't go into what makes a cast shadow a cast shadow. You just have to accept these changes and then go into my video history and look up spotlight, look up cast shadow, and understand how I fundamentally applied these changes. I can't explain every single change I do, which is why I'm just mostly using this for discussion. Behind the book covers, terrible title font, terrible title color. Just go for basic like fonts, full caps, pure white. Oof, bad. Okay, so how do we make the most out of this piece? So we have the main light source, we have the snake emerging, and you've kind of given the snake this lighting here that makes it look like it has volume. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is flatten that. I want it to make it seem like the painting. There's a painting here and it's flatter. So anything responding to the light source is actually killing the effect that it's part of a painting. So we're actually going to throw in a pretty general core shadow. and then no highlighter so that the painting feels flattened. All right. Then we are going to emerge this guy out of the dark. So you got a lot of shit going on in here, but you guys will notice that a lot of the changes I make today will be exactly the same. Right? That's why these changes, these fundamentals are in place as they are. One thing that I'm going to have trouble with is lassoing this girl. Oh, Lord, help me. Okay, so this girl has just turned around. So in the narrative, she turns around and sees the dude coming out of the painting. So she's right over here, kind of freaking out. This is, she doesn't touch the painting and then he comes out. She touches the painting, turns around, because a mechanical sound was enabled behind her. Something clicked, something turned on behind her. So she turned around to check, and she turned back around and saw the snake was right in front of her. So that's the moment you drew. She just turned around and saw the snake in front of her. So she's not technically touching the snake right now. If anything, if you just take this arm, rotate it back this way, it'll make it look like she's like, oh my God, the snake is moving. It's like, oh my God, the snake is moving. And look. All right. So, I'm such a millennial. It's almost embarrassing. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that, and you guys probably know what's coming. Oh my God. All right, so that we have to, I keep seeing the font. You guys are artists. You guys are not. You guys are not text artists or graphic designers or anything. That's for sure. Let me just get rid of. Ugh. All right, so I'm sorry. It's not you. It's the purple color. It's the font. I don't know. Whoever designed this font needs to just call it quits. I hate that font. I just gotta get rid of it. I'm so sorry. All right, so. The snake has emerged. We want to make it seem like the snake has now entered the real world, and part of it is still back in flatland. So that means every last bit of purple needs to just disappear to be sent to the shadow realm. All right, so we've got a chance here to bring the values out. So I'm going to ignore this girl here because I have her on a separate layer. I'm going to go ahead and use this color, same exact thing I did before. I'm going to start showing that there is a quality to this room that is three-dimensional. We use that same silhouette technique, or spotlight technique, to create a focal point or a line of sight that is intriguing. All right, the snake is kind of breaking out of it, so let me just first establish spotlight. So Gaussian blur. Give it a nice old blur. Zoom out if you don't know. Usually, you can tell when it's just at the right amount of blur. I'm going to get this girl back and I'm going to darken her. And instantly we've got this really, really, really great layering of stuff. I don't know what the F you were doing with the border as well. Oy. So let me just fix her silhouette. Oh man, okay. Big day today. All right. So in the story, the girl heard a rumor about a riddle that, that through the riddle, there's like a bunch of clues that there's something hiding in the upper level of this ancient building, and then that she went and found it, and there was the little clue and how to unlock the secret room, and so she enters it. And then in the secret room, there's even more secrets. Ooh. I could be a young adult novelist. Adult books. Okay, so I'm darkening that a little bit. And then, no, I will never. I will never. And then we've got to get rid of this stuff here. So I flattened by getting rid of any highlighters that represent any kind of reflection to a nearby light source on the painting. So I made the painting dull. I dullified it. And then I separated the contrast between the foreground and the background. So now I have a character in the foreground. So this is the basics. And then using this spotlight, I'm just going to really quickly darken the rest of the scene. I showed the fact that the snake is now responding to this light source, which means the snake has emerged from the painting. The snake here is behind its own tail, which is not a good idea, because the point is that the snake has emerged and is now in front of itself. So that killed everything effectively. So to make sure we get that snake out. And the snake is catching light on that part. And then outside of that, under the snake, we've got a shadow now that the snake has emerged. And that shadow, actually, I'm just gonna, is emerging from the point where the snake comes out. So we're gonna get a black, and we're just gonna show how the neck of the snake is now casting a shadow. See that? And again, don't be fancy with your cast shadows. You're in no position to mess around with that shit. Just smudge them. Right, so now we have a cast shadow. That makes sense to the fact that the snake is emerging and is popping out. I'm gonna make it a little sharper. Go ahead, but you have to re-smudge it so that it makes sense. Maybe the snake shadow should be a little bit higher. I really don't care. See how you get away with like even the wrong position? You just get away with a lot. And then we've got that, which I have to correct as well, because as you remember, I said that the snake is blocking some of the light. So this, in the end, is not a fully present, fully achieved spotlight. It's just a way to establish an ambient gradient to the environment that makes everything feel really, really voluminous. All right, so the magical element you've got surrounding, actually I won't merge everything yet. The magical element you've got surrounding the snake, I'm not sure about that because it's gonna break off a bunch of your values that you've established, and I'm just gonna complete the rest over here. Just to clean it up. I don't know why there's a line there. It must have been my lassoing or something. You see that critiques for the challenges are very different. There's a different air about them. They're a lot more narrative based. We always think about how to boost the story. Always thinking about narrative, which is an amazing thing. See how it's kind of in the way. And then now, because you've got this focal point, which is the snake eyes, you have to really color balance a little bit. So I recommend just being a little bit more chill with other colors around. So I'm just gonna grab a blue. Just take it easy with all of these extra colors, you know, just dull everything out. It is an old library. And then use that as a chance to set the stage for focusing, contrast, and saturation back towards the eyes, and then you can really go ham and just get your dodge tool and just have fun with it. I'm not sure what you were doing, if that yellow was kind of light coming out of the snake or something. Okay, oh my god, I just freaked out. I thought I wasn't unmuted this whole time. And then this outline here kind of flattened the snake, kind of made it feel like the snake is actually not emerging from the painting, but it's kind of like still stuck in the painting. And I'm going to darken, except for the nose of the snake, I'm going to darken the rest of it, just so that it feels like it actually is emerging out. Catching the light in those areas. All right, so we've got the foreground, and then I'm just gonna boost the level on the main level. Something like that, so it looks more cavernous. And then the character in the foreground can respond to the light source, can be generally darker, can be smaller, can be bigger. It's really up to how you want to stage it. I think bigger and in the foreground is nice. Like where she was before, but I only just put that there just to hide the other character. It's, you know, it's up to you what you're gonna do. And bring in some other elements. You need some leaves in here, because if this was something you were hired to do, you know, you're not really showing what you're supposed to be doing here. Show how they kind of just occupy the space. And I usually just do a stem and just get my lasso and throw in the little leaf. This is my favorite type of palm tree leaf, you know, the big fanning one. So I kind of just mess with that all the time. But you can look up some basic jungle type leaves, jungle foliage, to make it seem like it's like a hidden jungle library, Jumanji type of thing. And oh my gosh, some of those Majesty leaves over here, right in front of the light. I'm kind of just killing it right now, but whatever. We'll just show you how they really fill up this scene. And some can be this light, some can be really dark. But you just gotta keep going forward. That was a good butterfly. Alright. And it really doesn't need to be this bright. It was mostly the cast shadow flattening it out, and you really need to work on the scales just a little bit more. So I don't like where I place these leaves because they're too symmetrical. 1, 2, 3, 4. But let me see if I can actually move it, because I don't like when the before and after sucks. Alright, so before, after, and I'm just gonna do some cropping. Don't over frame. Big noob move to over frame. Yeah. Right, so before, after. Before, after. Same exact stuff. I told you I'll be repeating most of this stuff, because it's just how effective staging is, especially for a book cover. And book covers are judged by their cover 100% of the time. More stylistic ones I might just do another day. Okay, so we've got really, really strong overcast light behind her, and the snake really would be casting a much stronger silhouette in this setup. I don't see it emerging from any kind of painting, so fails on that. And I don't see a lot of foliage, but it does look, I mean, I didn't describe a sunlight or whatever that is. What's this called? This thing in the malls? Sun window? Afternoon window? I don't know. Alright, so he's part of the silhouette. Let's just call a spade a spade. Alright, and then she. I don't know why I said he. Alright, so the way you drew her perspective, gesture, it's just completely throwing me off. Skylight, thank you, skylight, yeah. So we need to darken the living daylights, no pun intended, out of out of the snake, because there's no light other than the skylight happening here. I'm also going to saturate and then try to find a better value, darker value, maybe like a purpley value as like the core value. See, so then I desaturate and then we have that base color still in there. So you can make it this dark, you can make it a bit lighter, but you got to make it dark just off the, you know, just because it's not possible that we have all this light and the character is completely light. The snake is completely illuminated as if the light's coming from in front of it. Jeez. Okay, so Gaussian blur the background a little bit because that's way too much detail for stuff in the background. So that stuff in the background needs to be blurred according to the lens distortion. And then we've got the bloom of all that light coming from behind the character. So I'm just going to just throw it behind her. That's too strong. It's just over there. And then I don't understand this gesture. She looks like she's just like running and then suddenly turn around like, what? What did you say? I'm just gonna go to Hot Topic real quick. I don't know. She looks like she's running, not like she's cautious. When someone is cautious, you know what? The only best way to possibly show you is through Portia Studios. When someone is cautious, they take a couple steps back, but they're also stuck in place as well. I'm sorry, I don't know why my Explorer does this every single fucking time. I hate my computer. Alright, so when is admin? Yeah. So when someone's cautious, they're taking one step back. They're kind of looking up. They're kind of surrendering or ready to raise their arms up in self-defense. There's a lot of stuff that someone who's taking a couple steps back does. Like let me see if I can Google it if I don't have time to sculpt it. So scared person walking backward. I don't know. Images. All right, so I'm not talking about this. I really hope no NSF shit comes up. I'm not talking about that. All right, so let's see what the heck this picture is. College tells tour guides to stop walking backwards. So this right here. So random. Why? Because they just fall in fountains and shit. So yeah, look at this right here. Couple steps back. She looks scared. She looks scared of the freshman. So that's exactly the kind of pose you could have used here. But this is what I mean when I say, like, she looked like she was, let me just prepare this. She looked like she was, what? You know, like running and just asking what. So I would say for this, I'm just going to rotate. And I was just going to change the light so it's facing the back. And then arms down. Even just, I swear to God, just this pose alone does so much. I'm sorry, one second. All right, so just that. But obviously, we're going to move one leg backward, one leg forward. So she's starting her steps backward. Her head is tilted up. That that alone looks scared. Let me turn off the joints. So that alone looks scared enough, right? But then there's more you can do. You can make her ready to turn. Okay, I'll turn the joints back on. You can make her ready to like kind of just ready to run, you know? So she's turning her head, ready to run. I'm not sure what the knees are for, because if she's bending her knees, like, is she ready to crouch? Like, is she just kind of standing up, or is she ready to crouch? Why are the knees bent in this one? You see what I mean? So the pose is completely wrong. So this is the fix for the color. It doesn't have to be this dark. Again, I exaggerate because I love dramatic lighting, so I exaggerate it a lot in my critiques. But, you know, it's a good place to start, just fixing the lighting, and then you've got the pose to worry about. Maybe there's shock. I mean, she is curious. She is very, very, the fact that she went up into the forgotten room in search of this secret and she found it. I'm sure she doesn't want to run away just out of fear of herself, for herself. Do you see where I'm going with this? All right, so let's move forward. Seems like an article from The Onion. Oh, maybe. So for this one, I'm not sure what to make of it. The frame doesn't really work as part of the story because I never mentioned that you can't put a sword in with the story, but I didn't say I didn't say she was more of a warrior, but she could have been. She could have taken a dagger with her, something to her size. But it was all up to you, pretty much the age. When this could have been modern day, it could have been 100 years ago. She could have been like a Sherlock Holmes character, always exploring. She could have been a Tomb Raider character, but 100 years ago, you guys had a lot to work with. For this piece, really, I can't say the composition is good at all, because this is so intimate. This is so close to each other. This guy could just gobble her up right now. You could bite her head off. So there's a sense, there's no tension anymore because you put the characters right in front of each other. So if you had shrunk her and placed her somewhere here, let me see, that kind of like intimate connection would be gone. And so there would be a fighting chance, less like a personal conversation and more like a fighting chance. But she looks like she's already been ulted. She looks like she's already lost. So it's not really, you're not really selling it. The fact that what just happened was that the snake emerged from a painting. That stuff was not interpreted. You can't interpret that. That was not the stuff that you had the liberty to interpret. All right. So that should kind of break up this really, really closed up composition a little bit more. Maybe move her over here. And the snake anatomy is also really grotesque, so it's almost human-like. And then it's fully exposed. Let me tell you something about fully exposed characters in a dark scene. They're funny. All right? The funniest thing about these old-timey movies, these old horror movies, is that everything is super lit up. Even Hitchcock movies, even old like crime movies. The funniest thing is that they're overexposed. The rooms are always way too damn bright. It looks really, really low budget. So if you want to start making your work look better, and that, you know, it actually looks like good production value and makes it seem like that there is a horror factor or a danger factor, you're gonna have to start hiding more of your characters. So that tone here change, and this, and then you can bring the face out a little bit more. You can extend the snout just to make it read a little less Voldemort-y. But now we have this empty space here, which you could have filled up with the flat part of the snake. You could have just really filled it up. It doesn't look like a snake. It looks like intestines. That's why I'm saying it looks grotesque. That was up to you, but I described the snake as iridescent, as almost see-through, glass-like, as colorful. So you guys gotta learn to respect the narratives that you work with, though it's okay to interpret what she's wearing, what she's holding, how she looks. There was no specific on whether or not she was wearing a dress or whatnot. But and then the snake itself was a snake proper. It wasn't a human-like snake. Or so these are the things that, you know, you can't really mess with too much. But when you have overexposed scenes like this, and that's really super cool, they look like they're just friends who are practicing fighting. Like it's too intimate. They're too friendly. Here feels a little bit like you have the tension, and then I'd get rid of the intestines in the foreground and just put some, let some of those intestines into the painting, flattened just like we did with the previous version. And then, of course, you can start bringing in some more color because it feels a little bit dull. No vegetation at all. No leaves, nothing. This one looks good. I really like the way that the green light kind of comes up. No painting yet at all. She did turn around, so it's like from an angle. So you have spotlights coming in here. I don't think we need, apart from the title, I don't think we need a lot of, I am running out of time, so I might continue these into next class. I don't think we need to see the top sections. So see now suddenly the focus is in the foreground. Good job on using some of the leaves. That was great. Nest of vipers. Sounds like my childhood home. Alright, so eraser. Okay, and then of course we need to blur the background a little bit more. It feels like the Alaskan bullworm. Yeah. Let's take Alicia and put her somewhere else. What do you mean? Oh, like the way I pick shit up and move it? Okay, so I'm just blurring over here. And then she should be a little bit more in contrast. She doesn't have to be completely drowned in light, like an angelic vision of someone who lives in the afterlife or something. She looks more like prey. She doesn't look like a curious adventurer who we as the readers can trust. So you want to kind of adjust that a little bit so she doesn't look like a little girl who wandered into something she didn't know about. She knowingly wandered into this room. Alright, so we darken that a little bit, a lot of it. Let me just drop that. And then I love the snake in the foreground. I love how I did the eyes. Beautiful job. I don't know about the stick. Really, there would be old vines that are growing out everywhere. So usually in my paintings, when I want to draft, I just go to the white pencil and just start drafting. So I would throw in some vines climbing up, some old looking ass vines. All right, and some leaves just coming from above. She should be a little, I'm not sure how you would incorporate the painting. Maybe the painting can be here and the snake had already come out. I guess that's your interpretation of it, but the snake should have been in the front. Maybe you could see some of the snake coming out of the painting. That's already, because the snake, as I describe in the story, is coiling and it seems endless inside the painting. So I think one of my viewers did retrieve it for me. As her hand moved over the painting, Alicia heard a sound behind her, not a water drop or the shuffle of a leaf, but a mechanical sound. As her back turned from the painting, looking into the room behind her for the source of that mechanical sound, Alicia heard a new sound. A shuffling sound rose behind her, slow, deliberate, consistent, clear like a cymbal or a wind chime dragging across a stone floor. Alicia turned around back to the painting. The snake from the painting emerged from the canvas, hanging half out of the frame, moving out of the painting and into a real coiling thing, sinking low to the stone floor, headfirst toward Alicia. That's how the story ends. So you guys don't really, you know, you guys really deviated away from the story, but again, it's I can forgive that if it's something that you guys painted, right? So now you have something to put into this empty area. Make her look a little sporty. Just a little bit of sprinkle in some Tomb Raider in there so that she can look a little bit more intriguing. And this area is really empty, so maybe just hanging vines and leaves and stuff like that. You could always just make them meeting. If this could be like the moments after the fact, and she's kind of just taking some steps back, like, whoa man, I'm sorry, man. I don't want any trouble, man, or something like that. Or maybe she's just like that. All right. And that could be a little more interesting. It reminds me of the conversation with the Dragon Community Challenge. Do you guys remember that one? That was really fun. For this one, before I leave this one, I do want to show you that you can make this whole area bright. Just so that, you know, there's some light coming in. Just moving down outside of the importance of the characters, just some light in the foreground. It doesn't always have to be on the characters, that spotlight. But when it comes to staging for these book covers, it's really not hard to make it look dramatic. It's not like, you know, you use the spotlight for everything. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying have degrees of light varying across the illustration. Don't just have, you know, one consistent light source throughout the whole thing that makes absolutely no sense. Have different worlds within worlds of light inside the painting so that it's not boring. Right, so it looks more like a dramatic scene. And I've talked about this before. The reasons why our work is more realistic now is because our entertainment across media has become more realistic. So I was talking to this with one of my students who's redoing magic cards. We looked at magic cards from back in the 90s, or I don't know, like early 2000s. And then we looked at magic cards now, and it's just like, it's like you're taking a picture from a 3D animated film versus 2D drawings like that you'd find in books back in the 90s, you know, like the sketches. It looked sketchy, old Magic the Gathering cards. So that's because our technology has advanced so far that we are now entering like a really, really realistic worldview on the narratives in our entertainment. It's not, there's no really space anymore for sketchy delivery. There is some kind of movement now with cutesy sketchy delivery, but when it comes to rendering creatures that we want to experience as realistic, you know, we have to draw them realistically. We want to believe they're realistic, basically, because it's more immersive. So, so messy, this piece. Extremely effing messy. Can't tell freaking, what's a good saying? You can't tell I'm gonna make it up. You can't tell a dog from a camel over here. Actually, that's a pretty good saying. I just invented a new saying. No. So the light is behind the character, so that's the very first sign that you need to put in a spotlight. The spotlight will give us a really, really nice, ooh, man, I need to laugh so hard for this one. A really nice separation between the background and the foreground. Can't tell a dog from a camel over here. I was watching in the kitchen. My kitchen has a lot of echo, so I just heard my laugh plus echo across the house. I don't even know how you guys listen to me. My laugh is so obnoxious. You can tell I have an astounding ego because of my laugh. Alright. I mean, it's hard not to have an ego, be me. Come on. Joking. Can't tell a dog from a camel. No, you cannot. So, wow. So that went by fast. That was a pretty easy lasso experience. Let's not jinx it. Okay, is this good? Is this good enough for you, Istebrak? No? Alright. She's still lassoing, y'all. She's still at it. Okay, so Jeebus Cribe. Let's... Oh, okay, so select inverse. Let's try to control what's happening in the background, because holy crap, that's a lot of detail. Congratulations that you can override your brain and overclock into oblivion. But please, 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 take it easy, because you need to refocus your attention back to where it matters. So let's just drown out some of this detail. So we're throwing in a big light. That alone has helped. That alone has moved us in a positive direction. I'm thinking faster than I talk right now. All right, so let's try to get everything on the same level. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to delete. I'm going to make sure that, yeah, I'll delete after. All right, so I'm going to delete where we do have parts that are, so I already saved my lasso, so I can go back. And I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to just delete. I know I said delete on purpose. I'm going to just delete where we need some shadows. So actually I'll just erase so it's not that extreme. Just deleting. And then blur. And I am going to just blur the living god dang out of that background. So select inverse, duplicate layer. Is it duplicated outside of the inverse? Yes, it is. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Because my god, that was just unacceptable. Oh, I didn't blur it with the, I didn't do the right one. I did it before. Okay, so I have to do it again. Select invert. Okay, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. My brain is on overdrive right now. Okay, so we don't want to make it too blurry. Select inverse. Now we can go back. I'm just gonna start merging some shit. Okay, so now we can just relax and darken this character accordingly. Man, those levels were unbelievable. It's a bit tricky right now doing this because I don't know how the hell I managed to do that. But now we need to show where the cast shadow is of the snake. So the snake cast shadow does a little something like that. Holy cannolis. Because it's looping on itself. I'm just going to throw some light on top of all of that. Alright, so technically, this is what you're supposed to be doing in the room. With the shadow, the snake. I don't know why there's a shadow over here. Where's that shadow coming from? That shadow would just be over here. And extended into this again. There wouldn't be a shadow. My bad. Okay, so there's no shadow here. So give me a minute. And then I'm going to, oh my god, I think this is the last piece I'll do today. I'll do the rest next time. I'm gonna just clean that up. Alright, so all in all these cast shadows get blurred. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. So what's one common theme you guys explored today? That you guys witnessed today? What is one common theme? It unites all of these pieces and their critiques together. So before, the snake is kind of glowing on its own, so then why not darken? And then if it's glowing on its own, why is there a cast shadow? And why does the cast shadow make no sense? And does the cast shadow here even belong to the snake, or is that just some more crazy ass detail? You really know how to detail a piece, but you need to know how to also stay realistic as well. It feels like I can't delete either layer. I really need to control all of this, but I also need to maintain the detail you have. So maybe I could mess around with some layer modes. I like what this does to the ground. This one here. But I don't like what it does to the snake. Oh man, this is a mess. Cancel. Select inverse, delete. And this one can just go back to normal. Oosh. And this one can chill. It's just a lot that needs to be changed. Maybe the level here can also help. Okay, so now that we've kind of balanced everything, let's just complete the framing and call it a day. So the top of the room needs to be darker. The lower part of the room needs to be darker. Oh my god, that was that was absolutely crazy. Okay, so before, after. I need a round of applause for that. I'm joking. There is a chair in the back. It's hard to tell, man. That's its shadow. Okay. Details can be suggested. Nerd laugh is actually really contagious. Oh, thank you. Suggested? Did I say suggested? Blurring shadows, cast shadows are soft. Yes. Following the narrative, lighting and making it a focus. Narrative, no one can follow direction. Silhouettes, good. Light environment, cast shadows, object shadows, create a focal point. Spotlighting to a layer, additional light sources. The more we go into the back, the less detail there should be. Yes. So you guys did amazing, and that you finished. I mean, this artist here knocks us all out of the park with his rendering skills, right? He just needs some control over what a light environment means. Light environment is no joke. Also, you need to take it easy with the details you have, because you can make smoke appear in a painting without destroying the detail around. You don't have to draw every single little brick for it to read. You don't have to detail every section of this ceiling. Don't use a super fine texture brush for foliage. You could have just drawn a couple leaves here and there. This looks more like, less like a library that's overrun, and really more like a treehouse. It needs to look like a stone, cavernous, large library, more like the Mines of Moria, filled with leaves and obviously sunlight. The lattice looks good, but there were long windows, meaning that the ceiling was long. So if you had just captured this and just that's not gonna work. Istebrak. Okay, so make it straight, and then extend it, and then bring it back around. So if you make them longer windows, you'll be able to make it feel like, you know, it's a bigger library. It's a higher ceiling, right? Because the short window makes it look like a treehouse kind of thing. And then there's the shape of the snake. It's all cool and coiled over here on the edge of the canvas, but over here it's a basic loop. You could have really done more with the snake here. And then not just all that detail, you had the super duper detailed font. You gotta give us a break, bro. So before, really wrong. There's no light environment. The light source of the environment does not cooperate with the main object, which does not respond to the room, and the room does not help the object, nor is the object responding to the light source just on itself. It doesn't affect the room. It's like the light is just this uncooked shader in the back. It's just a big white paper behind the window. It's not actual light. Light is energy. It travels inside. It affects the scene. Actually, yeah, it might be nice and dark around the light source. It's hard to it's really hard to literally lasso in this wild bowl right here. But I hope that helped you get a good idea of what's coming in your corrections for at least implementing a light environment, and then just take it down a notch with all those details. I will look at the rest of these on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. The class is already super long. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope you guys got, you learned something out of these critique hours. If you learned something and want to give back, please support me on Patreon. You don't have to support for the higher tiers. You can just support for the $1 a month option. For those who have answered the call, thank you so much. I really do want all of us on board with Patreon as soon as possible, just because it keeps our channel independent. It keeps these videos really long and doesn't decrease their value in any way. I want to stay in this format, and if you guys want more of these challenges, you want to kind of push the longevity of our community, you can do so through Patreon. It really supports me and it keeps us going. Second, challenge for the upcoming community challenge will be posted on Reddit. To join Reddit, go to Istebrak.com and click on the little Reddit icon here. It will be posted right here where the others were. And it'll be more like a creature design, cute, creepy creature elemental design. So you choose an element that embodies the changing weather or the changing, like something that represents the coming of the fall. Don't draw a basket with corn and leaves on it and make a cute little animal holding a basket. Fuck's sake. It's an elemental, so make it a character that embodies the changing of the seasons, the changing of the weather, the changing of the colors, particular plants that bloom during this time. Harvest, but in a more unique way. And it's basically like fall Pokemon, all right? For lack of a better term, because Finn keeps saying Pokemon, basically that's what it is. But yeah, I'll be posting up a full brief on the channel. Thank you everyone for coming. I'll see you guys on Thursday for the extension of today's homework critiques. I'm not accepting any more because then it's just another additional day. I need to look at all of these. So only the ones that I saw today will be looked at on Thursday. If you're late, you're late. You're not going to be seen. Sorry about that. Deadlines are deadlines. Thank you guys. Bye.